Okay. I am recording this directly after the next part because I just want to get this knocked out real quick. And after that, I should be caught back up with everything on the series. Now, I. The thing I introduced to you guys last time with Deku's new form, there's something else to it that I was going to bring in to the sports festival, but I kind of saw it as too soon. No. Alright. I got this. I got this. Okay. Okay. Have some confidence in yourself. Great. Okay. I'm gonna move over because I am sitting directly on the coffee I spilled in the last part. Ah, fudge. I'm sorry, everyone. This seems amateurish because I am an amateur. Okay, so Deku would have received the most internships from heroes, if not even more. He even got one from Endeavor, and the one from Endeavor says, "You've earned this." Todoroki would ask why Endeavor actually sent him one and why he respects Deku. Deku would say he took Endeavor down. He would explain that Deku, whenever he beat Todoroki, Endeavor kind of yelled at his mother, asking him what kind of training he did, what kind of things she did to him to get him that powerful. And Deku kind of fought his dad and beat him. So Todoroki would actually start laughing and actually start being friendly with people. Because as soon as they start hearing him laugh, it's creepy to them. It's basically like if you were to see Endeavor smile at anyone, I'd actually be happy. Or if you were to see Shigaraki actually use chopstick. I'm sorry about that one. I just really, really needed to bring that up. Why doesn't he use chopstick? Why? It's so easy to find. He doesn't even need to steal it. It's like $2 a freaking cap. Okay, that's already 3 minutes. I am sorry. So Jiro would be the one who received an offer from. She wouldn't be like in Deku's situation where she only received one offer. She would be the person who actually got some more offers from heroes. Because originally her quirk, sound waves, people saw that she could only. Anything she connects her headphone jacks into, she could power up and use, like her boots and things on her hands. And I don't know if I did mention this, but her hero costume would actually be a vastly different, because she would actually have things that incorporate using speakers to help boost herself more. So she isn't just using One for All and her speakers, but she would actually kind of have it look a bit more like Deku's with the combat boots, but she'd have speakers built into the bottom of the shoes and actual places for her to run her cord through, her earlobe cords through to connect them to boots. And she can just produce the sound waves out of her hand, so that's how she would be able to fly. Anyway, so All Might, whenever he gets contacted by uh, Gran Torino, I'm sorry, I literally just started staring off into nothing in my room. Anyway, Gran Torino would have heard Deku's speech about how his quirk actually did harm his body, and he thought Deku was the one who received One for All. And Gran Torino would kind of freak out at Toshinori because two people aren't supposed to share the same quirk. All Might would reassure Deku, Gran Torino, that he didn't give Deku one for all. But the girl who did break her arms against him is actually who she gave it to. And Deku actually has been helping her control it better. Because apparently she didn't understand what he meant by let the power flow. But whenever he explained it to her, she did. Now, he would think that however Deku helps Jiro with training is actually the way she likes to learn. So he would actually send out 2 invitations and help essentially not try and help Deku, because Deku actually is learning more about his quirk over time. But they would separate, and everyone in Class 1A would question, oh, you guys are going to the same place, right? So does this mean you guys are going to have a little date while you're there? Or get to know each other better? Nothing innuendos there, just saying in general. Because essentially they'd be staying at the same building. Almost like a couple, but almost like a married couple, but not really a married couple. So one of the girls would actually say it's almost like you guys are a married couple. They would try and hide their faces. Deku would actually turn. Deku would actually learn how to turn on individual parts of his quirk, so he actually would have turned on the mask that covers his nose, lower jaw, and where it's all right here. He would have actually turned that on and hid his face better. And yeah, that would have happened, and they would leave. Ida would have still Ida would have stayed, and they're on patrol. Well, actually, no. Let's go back to that. Cut back to not cut back to, just cut to them entering Gran Torino's apartment. Wait, is that uploaded? Yep, almost. Cut back. Cut back to. Crap. Actually, yeah. Cut back to them at Gran Torino's apartment. That whole thing with dead, not dead, I'm alive, he's alive happens. I really hope people understand that reference. I'm sorry if I'm making a lot more of them, but I'm full of them. If I wanted to, I could reference TFS in the series, and probably it would go over a lot of people's heads, but that's because they would know how to dodge. And cut to my 12 subscriber count going to 0. Alright. So they would learn that, and Gran Torino would essentially ask Deku just to. Well, actually, they wouldn't be able to do that. They would go on Hero Patrol and do all this, because essentially they can't really hang out on the roof of the place and have her throwing 30% smashes at Deku's arms or shield or whatever. Arm shields. Deku in this mode, because let's call this his full power, or at least he calls it stability. Because this mode is a lot better than anything he's ever encountered with his quirk. And I know this isn't what if Deku had Hellbringer or Fullbringer. Because my quirk, the quirk I thought of for my OC, I thought of it a certain way. Then Katsumi added the assault mode power up multiplier to it. I kind of listened to him. I actually did listen to him because I liked the idea of that. Because I didn't really think about it. And in order to make it less OP for UA Year 1, I made it to where since Deku's quirk, well, Kirishou's My Guy's quirk, hang on, pictures, Screen captures, no. Hmm. No, I can't find it. But essentially how... Wait, actually... Actually, yes, I remember where it was left off at. But he would essentially explain how... Actually, not that. Okay, what I was explaining. Deku's quirk is basically a second generation bone defect he inherited from his mother. But with Myoc, his mother was quirkless. He inherited the bone defect from her, but actually got the gene for a quirk during her pregnancy. And those two genes mixed, and he kind of, since his quirk was an emitter, it actually mutated with the bone gene that defected his body. So anywhere that's affected by this defect, he can use his quirk on, and that's essentially his whole body. And in order to make it less OP for you at year one, anytime he goes past his body's parameters, like 80% or something, the defect would actually start affecting him by like fusing his fingers. Basically, he couldn't close his hands into a fist because they would essentially, the bones would fuse in place and be together. So that's how I made it less OP, because the drawback is at 100%, you have 5 minutes before your hands completely fuse together. You have 10 minutes before your forearms fuse together. 15 to 20 minutes before your spine, femur, everything below your legs, and all your ribs start fusing together, seemingly making you a human statue. And after that, you would have to use your quirk, since he does manipulate his bones. He would have to use his quirk to undo this, seemingly, but doing this would actually cause his body to shut down his quirk for a minute, a whole day. Plus, he would be bedridden and have to be fed a lot of dairy products to help. Anyway, that was a very long. Hmm? Oh crap! I'm sorry. Uh, Hosu City. They're in Hosu City. Ida crap happens. Deku is they're actually there earlier because Jiro knows more about himself because of Deku's help. Oh, I'm gonna dictate that real quick. So back where we left off, if you're wondering why that cut is there, my video got done and I was uploading it to YouTube. This is the first part, that's why. Sorry if you missed that in the beginning of the video, but let's continue. They would leave for the city earlier. They would get there earlier. They'd actually be there in time for the attack. Deku would take down a lot more Nomu because he is stronger and they are weaker. And he knows where their weaknesses are. So he'd be taking them down. And Jiro would actually be the one who hears Ida and rushes to help him. And she would see Stain. And as soon as she gets there, he's about to plunge his sword into Ida and kill him. She would blast him with a sound wave with her hand and knock him away. Ow. Asthma is fun. It's not really. It's not. It's not a joke. I feel like needles are plunging into my skin from the inside. So they would do that. Jiro gets there first. She has a counter off a stain. Deku would catch up because she did message him. And yeah, I might have to redo this. No, it should be fine. That would happen. And Deku would show up and actually bandage Native up and make it to where he won't bleed out because they actually didn't give him medical attention. And he's doing that where she's fighting him. And he actually does get Jiro after a while. And he licks her blood and she's paralyzed. And Deku sees that he did that and how he is going to get Jiro. So he would actually rush in and break Stain's sword by grabbing it with one hand and then smashing it with his hand sharpened, like into a knife, smashing into it with his other hand sideways. And after he did that, Stain would be confused because he didn't draw any blood from Deku. Deku would explain that his quirk is not going to work like that for Stain. So he eventually takes down him and Jiro take down Stain together. But Jiro does eventually she gets drained because she actually used around 40% of One for All and actually seriously injured her body, but she will recover after a couple days. And Deku and Jiro and Ida are actually all kind of walking out after having Stain tied up. Because Stain in this What If is actually got knocked out. Like, he's done. Like, he's unconscious, knocked out. He's not being up for a while. And after that, they're walking out of the alley. All the heroes come. They see that they have Stain. And the Nomu would actually come in and actually take Jiro this time. Now, the Nomu would see this and Endeavor would try and get the Nomu. And Deku would think about firing spikes, but he thinks that, no, that's going to hit her. He needs to think of something fast. So he tells Endeavor not to. He is going to. He'll save her. He'll save her. And she actually. Deku would actually start digging his claws into the side of the building and trying to climb higher and higher and higher. And he would jump for her. And he's around 6 to 8 stories high at this point, trying to get her. She screams Deku or Izuku, and he misses her hand and can't get her. So he gets mad at himself and thinks, you can't fly. You can't fly. And he can't create his stilt up this high. So as he's falling, he's trying to create something he's never thought of. He creates a pair of wings around the size of his body. They look like skeletal wings, and then he builds a thin layer of bone, like very thin and somewhat stretchy layer, kinda, as in they can actually carry wind. Stretchy, because I know that it's essentially skin that does that for bats, so it should just be the same premise for Deku's wings and for bone. But Deku would do that, and he'd actually start flying after. Well, he'd have to put effort into it because he does have high stamina, but this is actually something he's never done. And he actually kind of fused them to his back, a part of his spine, and actually he's flown after him. And Jiro would see Deku and scream for him, Izuku, help. I can't get free. And stuff like that. And she'd actually try blasting the Nomu. But the Nomu would actually ignore this. Because she's actually very drained of power. Like, she could have barely stood as it was. And Deku actually creates his wings bigger, twice as big as his body, and flies in and stabs the Nomu with a bone spike he created. Because he can create spikes out of his forearms, extending past his hand, probably like a less like 18 inches out, about half the size of a yardstick. And I never probably explained that, but he can do that. Yeah, because he can pull swords and stuff out of his arm like that. He can do this. So Deku would do that, and it would let go of Jiro. And as soon as Deku did this, he would realize, crap, 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 crap. That worked, but now he has to do that. And they're probably 2,000. No, they're probably around a mile up in the sky, so 5,000 feet, and they're falling fast. So Deku swan dives. He swan dives as much as he can, and he hardens his body as much as he can, like this, but he still has his wings. He does this, and he was able to essentially get Jiro and wrap the rings around them and fuse them together for a second. Now, as soon as Deku does this, they start landing. Let's say landing. Because Deku was barely able to catch her and do this. And they fall. He essentially lands on a roof, smashing through it. And he has a building collapse onto him. And everyone finds out that Endeavor took down the hero killer, and these students helped. And as soon as they heard the building collapse, they would actually have gone over and helped him. But this time, the person recording, they captured everything Deku did, and they even captured the collapsing building. Because they kept trying to look into the sky, and they actually saw the building in the distance collapse. Now, cut to Deku and Jiro a couple hours later in the hospital after getting out of all this. Deku is fine, but he is holding a gallon of milk. Because that actually did drain his body. Because hardening those wings that fast, that quick, it would take more stamina to harden them faster. And he's in Jiro's hospital room, sitting in a chair next to her hospital bed. She's got a concussion, a couple bruises, and stuff like that. So they're actually talking about how that was crazy, and she's calling Deku unstoppable. And everyone from Class 1A would essentially come in. Ida's out of his hospital bed. He comes in and talks to Deku, saying he didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that you could do that. Not even that. What you did was incredible. I don't think anyone has ever had a quirk like yours, Izuku. Or Midoriya. Deku would thank Ida for the compliment and say that he kinda panicked. Oh no. That he kinda panicked and did that. He just had one focus, was to save Jiro. He didn't even know he could really create the wings until he was falling. People would ask, falling? Deku would explain that he tried climbing up a building and getting Jiro before he created the wings. That he climbed up the side of a building and tried jumping to her. He missed and created the wings as a last resort because he remembered something the support class girl they were paired up with during the sports festival said. They said that he couldn't fly. He proved her wrong. Ida would just say, "You have a knack for doing that, Midoriya." Then the pro heroes and some of the police officers would show up, asking Deku, does he know how much damage he caused? Deku would say he does not, but he actually stopped a lot of those monsters from destroying the city. So why would that matter? One of the pro heroes is All Might. All Might would walk in and explain to Deku, because he's actually buffed up, that whenever he did save Jiro here, not only did he destroy a building, he proved how powerful he really is. Deku would be confused and ask what All Might's talking about. All Might would explain that the building he went through was an office building, and that whenever they fell through it, they, whenever they brought people in to help them dig them out, they thought they thought a meteor had crashed to that building because of the devastation that happened. Deku would say that it's really no big deal. All Might would tell him no, it really is, because Deku essentially, he is perfectly fine up and walking. He just needs some milk. And he gets told that he went through 15 to 7 15 to 20 stories and had over 20 tons of rubble burying them alive. Everyone would just think of Deku as indestructible, unstoppable, and unwitting, and unwilling to give up. So Deku is overpowered in this form because he can take his quirk one step further now and advance himself. That's different. Okay, that's actually uploaded already. Wow. Okay. In the next part, I will go over what has happened for the Pussycats and some other stuff. Alright, now goodbye.